Hello? Hello. Sorry about not streaming last week. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. I just wanted to enjoy the holiday, watch The Patriot, as I do every 4th of July. So I didn't do much personally. I hope you all had a great time celebrating Independence Day, which was the real No Kings Day, as everybody was reminding that's why we celebrate the 4th of July as Independence Day. Independence from a king. The actual No King's Day. Yet, some people on the left wanted to cancel the holiday, but yet, I don't know. I can go on and on about that, about how they're just so stupid about that. Anyway, so there's a lot that's gone on in just a week. Now, last week, I didn't stream because it was Independence Day, but the Big Beautiful bullshit passed. And I say that because there's just so much spending, and it's counterproductive to just legislation in general, because you're just basically making the country go bankrupt. You know, there's some things in there, there's some tax cuts. I love tax cuts. I hate taxes in general. So, maybe having no income tax would be ideal, personally, in my own opinion. But there are some tax cuts in it. Wonderful. Great. But they did not codify any of the Doge cuts, which understandably Elon Musk is pissed. Increase the spending, which, Elon Musk is pissed. But you have wonderful liberty guys in Congress like Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, who have been pointing out the spending and the spending issue. And it's just a huge issue, period. Like, it's just like Congress has this, it's almost like you give them a blank check with our tax dollars and they don't know when to stop. Somebody's got to be the parent in the room and say, that's enough spending. You're spending too much. And that has been Thomas Massie. And Trump has gone after him so bad for it. And it is just the biggest travesty, because America First should be about doing good things for America, right? Right? Well, the spending is not good. It's gonna make us not only go bankrupt, but it's spending money we don't have. You've increased the debt. Then future generations are going to have to pay for that, and not to mention the whole that Ponzi scheme that Social Security is. They just don't. It's like they don't think about any of that. They just want to spend, and not codify the Doge cuts. So it has been an absolute shit show. And with all of that, I just got to show off. I am wearing my I Stand with Massie shirt. You can't really see. There you go. See? I stand with Massie because he actually has some common sense. And I love this shirt because, yes, I made it. But Thomas Massie is the only person in the House with a lick of sense, it seems. And Rand Paul is the only one in the Senate, for the most part, that has a lick of sense. So, always try to support them. Donate to Massie's campaign. The MAGA movement has gone after Massie pretty hard. They absolutely despicably, released a commercial, anti-Massie commercial, which I showed last stream. And I didn't point out that the day they released that was the 1-year anniversary of the death of Congressman Massie's wife. I don't know if they did that on purpose. I hope they didn't, but it was just disgusting on so many levels. But he's such a good man. He's so strong, and he sticks to his principles. And I can't state how much I admire that man, and I'm so happy that we have him in Congress, and we need to clone him, and make like all of those seats Massey. We would be running so much better if all of our seats were Thomas Massey. Now, enough about the big beautiful bullshit though, because I can go on and on about frustrations. You know, Massey did say there are some conservative wins, which great. You know, like, you know, the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. However, the wonderful Spanish Jesus on X pointed out that it would make sense to actually also do no tax on holidays, on holiday pay, especially the ones that are like federal holidays. And think about it. If you are getting taxed on holiday pay, the government shouldn't even be open to tax it. So they shouldn't be taxing holiday pay, which is the ones that are like federal and whatnot holidays. Basically, if the government's closed, they shouldn't be taxing that day because they're not open, you know. I think it makes sense. That's a good way to justify it, is that no, they're not open. But any excuse to refrain from taxes, I think, is a win. But that would be wonderful to propose to Congress, like, hey, maybe you can, you know, include, excluding holiday pay out of the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. But apparently there are some limits or whatnot to the no tax on overtime. There's it's not quite a no tax on overtime. I forgot exactly how it's broken down, but it's not like a flawless no tax, if that makes sense. All right. Yeah, here he is. Here's the man of the hour. Yes, if the federal government is not working on the holiday, they should not get a cut of my holiday pay. Yeah, that's exactly the best way to see it, I think. And I think it makes absolute sense for them to not get a cut if, you know, they're closed. Because, you know, overtime, you know, yeah, I could definitely see like it not being fair to tax on overtime. Like you work extra hours and you want to make that extra pay for a reason. However, you know, holiday pay is kind of the same principle, where some businesses, you can choose to work on the holiday. You can, you know, say, yes, I'm willing to work this holiday. And because you are willing to work that holiday, you get, you know, usually, I think, time and a half or something. Like the last corporate job I worked was like time and a half for holiday pay. And so it should be like the same principle, and kind of like an overtime-esque sort of thing, because you are, you're kind of almost volunteering to work that day. Sometimes you might be, you know, just scheduled that day, you know, whatever. But yeah, if the government's closed, they shouldn't get a cut. I think that's fair. You know, it makes sense to me. And I think if they're going to do the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, include holiday pay. All right. So, anybody who's been following me for a while knows there's a topic I bring up quite often. And I have my own personal reasons as to why I will not drop this topic. You know, as a female, especially, I can sympathize and empathize, but Epstein, he victimized, was it even thousands of young girls for so many years. And like so many years that some of his victims are like grown women now. And we were promised that there was going to be justice that the files were going to be released, they did a little tease and humiliated a lot of conservative influencers, which some I was like, haha, but some I was just kind of like, you're not a bad dude. They just kind of humiliated you, which is not cool because that's their most loyal base. So they've been beating around the bush with releasing the Epstein files, and they threw a bone here and there to try to say, oh, we have the list, it's on my desk, Bondi says, which that's what the question was about the list, not about the files. So her trying to, I'll show that video in a minute where she tries to deflect. But we're promised the list. We were promised justice. We were promised so much. Obviously, any videos we don't want to see, but we want to see the names of the people who are in them, because the whole setup is that Epstein was recording people, possibly like for blackmail, like his so-called clients and stuff. So the thing is that he was supposedly recording people with these girls, and that's what all this, like, thousands of and tens of thousands of videos were supposed to be. And Bonnie said that she got it from the FBI in New York, and made a big stink of it, that her and Kash Patel went there, and Comey's daughter was covering it up, and she's really just made herself out to be this superwoman, that she's really out to get this justice, really out to for transparency about the Epstein files. And she recently has more than not delivered. She has gone completely backwards. And it's absolutely shameful. And it really feels like they're trying to gaslight us, when we not only know better, we have been told for years that there's this and that, and there's this list, and there's these people who did this and that, because there's transcripts from Ghislaine Maxwell's from her trial. So now apparently something doesn't exist. Now Ghislaine Maxwell was not trafficking anybody to anyone, so why is she in jail? Honestly, if I was her defense attorney, I would bring that up. Like, hey, if there's no client list, there is nobody that she was actually trafficking people to. So, pull that out and yeah, why is my client in jail if you can't prove she trafficked anyone to anyone? So, anyway, there's this video that's going around, and where Trump deflects about the question pertaining to Epstein. Now, I'm sure he's sick of hearing about it, but we're sick of pining for it, because we are pining for justice. These girls have been victimized. Now some are grown women having to live with that. It's appalling on so many levels that they have been so failed by people who they've expected to protect them. So, he may be sick of hearing about it, but how does he not understand why we all want to know, why we all want justice so bad? He's a father to, I think he has just, 2 daughters? He should have a little bit more empathy with that, and realize that we want justice for the victims, I can't, I don't know. Anyway, let me pull the video up. All right, let's see. Where's my video at? There it is. Okay.
It left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Kosticki, allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set.
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam, could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along.
Okay, I just gotta pause right there. The question was specifically the client list, and she said it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed. That's exactly what she said. She didn't say the files, because the question was specifically the client list. So she sounds like not only is she flat out gaslighting, whenever I want to be manipulative and lie about something and say that, no, I didn't really lie, I didn't really not tell the truth, and you want to just kind of go into semantics, that's what it sounds like she's doing. That's what it sounds like she's doing. Like, it sounds like she's talking to her child that, no, I said we would go to McDonald's after soccer if you blah, blah, blah. I didn't say it was this or that. You know, something stupid like that is what she sounds like. She sounds like she's talking down. She sounds like she's, just really trying to take us for a trip. She doesn't sound like she has her shit together, basically.
Along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeff.
Okay. A lot of that, obviously, if he was recording people, that's what it is. Like, no shit. We all knew it was going to be that, because if he's recording people with underage girls, that's exactly what it is. So that really doesn't clear it up either. Like, she's trying to say it downloaded. Like, I think she's really playing semantics to gaslight everybody, and it's despicable.
Epstein, child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing.
Okay, how could they not? How could they even try to pretend they don't know if he was an agent or anything? Like, how long do they have any file on Epstein? Like, there's no way they wouldn't have known if he didn't have any kind of foreign agent ties. The level of gaslighting here is... the government lies to us all the time. And this is the most blatant lie. Like, it's not even a good one. You know? Like, with the Las Vegas shooter, like, they just buried it. You would think they would just have buried this, but no. No.
From the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
It was supposed to be Jeffrey Epstein.
That's it on Epstein. Wow. What a lying sack of shit. I don't know. Not like I'm monetized or anything. Like, I don't really care. But that's what she is. That is exactly what she is. And apparently that has ruffled some feathers, or Miss Bondi has ruffled some feathers with Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino. There are some, rumors that Patel is thinking about resigning. I think Bongino is thinking about it. I'm hoping not. Bondi needs to be fired. She's not getting anything done on any level. I don't think she's prosecuted anybody. Like, and when it comes to all the deportations and such, like it's everybody else is doing that work. Like, you have, Kristi Noem and, I don't know, I can't think of his name, Tom Holman doing all the work for that. Pam Bondi's not doing jack. And she has been doing just the worst, crappiest job. She has not done anything, like, worth a damn at all. And she is pissing off two people who I think would do really good if they were allowed to do good. But if she's keeping them reined in, then she needs to leave. But she shouldn't be. I don't think she should be. But the crazy thing is, all this started because it wasn't like they just kind of made an announcement. This was leaked to Axios, which is apparently a left-leaning news site. It was on July 6th, 2025. Okay. And then the exclusive, DOJ FBI conclude Epstein had no client list, died by suicide. Y'all know how I feel about that one. So, this whole article, you're welcome to read it on Axios. And they have this memo here from Department of Justice, FBI. However, I also noticed it's not even signed. No one signed off on this. So, and then you have Cash and Bongino angry about it. Do you think that this was just not necessarily fabricated, but maybe just my tinfoil hat going on? But there's no signatures, so nobody signed off on it. And then they're mad about all this coming out. Do you think this is on Bondi? Do you think she did something? Do you think that she did something a little shady there? Honestly, I wouldn't discount it. I think that it's possible there's some shade going on. And I'm not saying there's a connection, but the day after this was buried, I would say buried because it's more like denial and gaslight. Some foreign leader of a foreign nation nominated Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Y'all are welcome to take a guess at that one. And the reason I mentioned that, though, is because of all of the possible ties that Epstein would have been Mossad. And if you don't know who Mossad is Israeli intelligence. And a lot of people say that because Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a very well-known Mossad agent. And there's been lots of lines drawn in terms of connections made that, hey, Epstein flat out was, or it looks like he was, working for Mossad. I honestly wouldn't doubt it. Because when you have people who are working like for any of the 3-letter agencies or any kind of intelligence agency, they are treated, I don't want to use this term, I was going to say with kid gloves, but the context is terrible. They're treated delicately. I'll just say that. They're treated soft-handedly, and, you know, they never get really punished. They get sweetheart deals, and that's exactly what Epstein has gotten. You know, not only because he has money, a lot of times when people have money, they're able to get, you know, away with stuff. But he has been given so many sweetheart deals, and he has done so many bad things when it comes to, you know, trafficking and, you know, child exploitation, child prostitution. And he actually was, you know, convicted of that one. But he's gotten away with everything. And it wasn't until like this very end where he didn't get away with it, because he was finally in jail. Everyone was like, yay, justice is going to be served. And then he ends up unalived, which I have a video of that. You want to see the video of his unaliving? It's exclusive here. Although I'm sure some of y'all have seen it. I'm telling you, he's getting revenge for those kids. But yeah. So it's just the biggest gaslight probably in my lifetime. And it's not like it's a good one. Because one minute there's tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, I'm not sure. It's like tens of thousands, I believe, video. And there's thousands of victims. And there's supposedly video of Epstein. And you have that, you know, that's been told to us for, what, years now? That's what they had. And that there's a black book or a client list. And then you have victims coming forward and saying that they were with so-and-so and so-and-so, and, you know, coming out. Like, the only one they actually outed was Stephen Hawking. Well, the man's dead. So that is like the biggest cop-out. But they're protecting everybody else. It's not... It's disgustingly obvious that they're protecting elites. I don't know if they're protecting them for blackmail or just protecting them because they're elites. Because, you know, I've heard that, you know, if they get released, you know, there's some people who didn't actually do anything wrong, who may have just befriended Epstein in some manner, but, you know, weren't pedos or weren't doing all the dirty stuff. And that there's some who, you know, may have actually flown to the island or on his plane. Like Trump has flown on his plane, I think a couple times. He's admitted it, but he's never been to the island. And there's people in those kind of situations who have done nothing wrong, and that releasing any association with Epstein, you know, might implicate them in, you know, when they're innocent, which I get, I understand, you know, the whole guilty by association is bullshit. And I don't think that if they are innocent, they should be dragged because they did not choose their friends wisely. So, you know, we've all made friends with scumbags before. The thing is that if that's their reasoning for trying to say there's no list and to bury it, the victims are not getting any justice whatsoever. And if anything, they're not only being told that there's not going to be any justice, it's being rubbed in their faces and being dismissed. Like the way Trump was saying, are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? So their pain is being dismissed. What happened to them is being dismissed. So they're not getting justice. They're being, I don't know. I don't really have many words for that. I just, it's disgusting, it's despicable, and Bondi needs to be fired. Whatever the reason is why she's doing this, I think that, I don't know, maybe maybe you need to investigate Bondi and see why she's doing all this, because there's a lot of victims that need justice. And Virginia Giuffre certainly got no justice. Exactly. And she has suspiciously passed away. And she was the most vocal of all of the victims. And, like, her testimony implicated Prince Andrew. And that was quite a hot topic. And she has stated that there's others as well. And there's other victims who have stated, but Virginia was the most outspoken. May she rest in peace. I really hope that maybe somebody, a whistleblower, will come forward about this, because there's no way, there's no semblance of a list. Like, if there was not maybe like a set hard copy list, that's the only thing I can get. But there's no way they don't have or couldn't make their own list from everything that was taken from Epstein. And if they're not, it's because they're hiding it. It's because they are burying it. They are covering it up and just going to gaslight the public. And these victims, these girls, are not going to see any sort of justice for what was done to them, to their innocence. And I am absolutely disgusted. I'm always disgusted with our government, period. I don't like government. I don't like it. I'm disgusted by, its existence, period. But this is a new low. It's a new low, and especially from Bondi. Like, and I draw the woman card just because you would think that she would be able to sympathize or empathize with these little girls that were victims, being a woman herself. And she's not. She's not at all. She is just going to gaslight and, I guess piss on our backs and tell us it's raining. But I do hope that Cash and Bongino, if there is something that is really causing that rift, that maybe they can clear it up. Maybe they can be the whistleblowers, and hopefully Bondi gets fired. I heard that she refuses to step down, that she has no plans to step down, and she won't step down. Well, of course not. She's like in the highest level attorney power position in the country. It's definitely a huge honor to be in her position, but she's not doing a good job. She's not only not doing a good job, but she's trying to gaslight the public on a very emotional and public case that everybody has had their minds on for years now. And there's real victims still alive, and she's basically screwed the pooch with it. It's disgusting. It's like, I don't know. I can rant on, but I don't think you want to hear a rant, because I will just go on to rant about this. Because like I said, if you've been following me, you know that I bring up Epstein randomly, that he didn't kill himself kind of thing. Which, an independent autopsy done by a doctor who's Epstein's brother hired determined that the bones that were broken in his neck were like in the front, or I believe, and are only done by strangulation, not by self-hanging. So there's evidence there. that he didn't do it himself. And I'm sure he probably thought he was going to get off. So of course he wouldn't have done it himself. And they showed that video with a minute missing. Like, and she tried to say, oh, it's because it resets. The camera wasn't even pointed at Epstein's cell. It only pointed at, like, I say, some stairs. But when it resets, it resets right at midnight, right on the dot. You know, who's not to say that they just don't reset them at a certain time? That missing, like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And trying to say that that's just how it resets because it's like from 1999. No. You know, we were born at night, but not last night, they say. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't buy the Bonnie Patel Bongino rift. It just feels theatrical. I kind of see that. I can see how it does seem like it's a bit theatrical. But the memo wasn't signed. I do feel like there might be a little bit of something. There was maybe some truth to it. Because the way that Cash and Bongino came out about, you know, they looked like they were uneasy when they were talking about it. And then she comes out and says all this, but the way they said it, it's almost like there was something there that they couldn't say. And then she just flat out just is able to gaslight everybody. So I think that there is probably at least some truth to it. As far as her covering so much up, which, yes, I feel it's an absolute cover up. And you know, I don't know. I feel like there is at least some truth to it. And I guess we'll see in the coming days that, you know, with the rumors of Cash resigning or Bongino resigning, or you know, people calling for Bondi to be fired. I guess we'll see in the coming days what happens. I do hope that Cash and Bongino do not. This is like a TV show or something. I do hope they stay. They seem like they really are good for the job. You know, Dan Bongino especially has a lot of people behind him. I didn't listen to his show. I know he had a show and was very popular, but I personally didn't listen to it. But I did see that, you know, some clips before, and he seems like he is a smart dude that has a good head on his shoulders, and that's really what we need. We don't need much of corruption. But Bondi seems to be, if she's not a swamp creature, she's turning into one. All right, yeah, so I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be some truth to this whole debacle. It's shameful that the victims are being hung out to dry like that. Because we have Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony or her court case. There's stuff in there, but yet she has the gall to go and say that there's nothing and case is closed. Anyway, I'll get all fired up on that. I just absolutely will. All right. Now, moving on, because this is a topic I will go on all. So, calling him No Nuts Newsom. You know, I'm calling him that because there's this picture of him crossing his legs, and it's like they're so exaggeratingly crossed, and it's more crossed than even I do my legs, and I'm a lady, you know, I could do that. But No Nuts Newsom, the California governor, who is basically insufferably trying to show the world that he plans on running for president by being so outspoken like he is. He likes to virtue signal on X all the time. and he thinks that he is really sticking it to Trump, sticking it to the Republicans. No, Gavin, you're a dumbass. You're just a flat out dumbass. So, today, I believe it was today or last night, a video came of an ICE raid, and this ICE raid took place in California. It took place at a marijuana farm, and the ICE raid was like ICE does, was going after illegals working on that farm. And there were children there. Children working on the farm. So, let's see what Mr. Virtue Signaling Governor had to say on X about it. Oh, let's see here. I have his tweet pulled up. And it's just the wildest thing. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. Here, let's...
Do not run! Do not run! Stay calm! They took your mom?
Why are there children there? If it's an immigration raid on a farm, why are there children there? And not only a farm, a marijuana farm. That's child labor.
They took your mom?
And Mr. I am the new hero of the left was trying to virtue signal so hard about that. Kids, tear gassing, kids crying and because their mother got taken from the field. Sir, do you know what kind of field that was? And why are there children there? Ever stop to think about that, Mr. Newsom? Governor? Ever stop to think about the scene? Anything going on? Any self-awareness? Because it doesn't look like it. Because what he sees is on the surface. He sees tear gas, kids crying, ICE raid. But hot farm with child labor. And he's been trying to defend, talking about, all these other Republican states are pro-child labor, this and that. Bruh. Those kids, I can almost guarantee you, those kids were probably trafficked in there to work those fields, like a lot of them are. So, it's not a good look. It just makes you look like the dumbass you are, Governor Newsom. You're not a smart man. You're not a smart man, but you know what hating Trump is. That's it. And it's oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of a point about the hypocrisy. Okay, the comment is, Black Dems, we ain't going back to the plantation. Also, Black Dems watching Mexican child labor. You don't like weed? a lot of the hypocrisy I see is, well, the Democrats were the party of slavery anyway. But you see a lot of people on like MSNBC and CNN talking about the agriculture is going to suffer, you know, who's going to pick the crops and who's going to clean your house. A lot of slave owners made those arguments, and a lot of Democrats are still making those arguments. They are not only promoting like unskilled, low, like underpaying people for low skilled labor, but they're celebrating it. They're celebrating the fact that these people will work under the table for slave wages, and they're mad that they're being sent back for not having legal status. Okay. And mad that those jobs are now going to be available. Like, oh yeah, and not only that, but that prices are going to go up on things. You know, the priorities of the left, they when you empathy so hard that you actually become the real bigot. Because they're basically saying that these illegals only work these sorts of jobs, which is not true. Most of the agriculture, I believe the percentage today was about like 70% of agriculture jobs are actually held by U.S. citizen Americans. So they're not even like all that big of a force. And the other 30%, it's not necessarily all illegals either. You know, some are legal immigrants, or some are visa holders. So the fact that illegals are being deported from these and any kind of like farms, and then they're paying, and they're talking about how who's going to pick the crops and our prices are going to go up. Like, how dare you? How dare you parade and celebrate the fact that these people are being paid slave wages to make your avocados affordable? Well, those are imported, but you know what I mean. It's just the absolute elitism. They think that they're so much better. They're such elitists. They think that they're morally superior, that they just flat out feel superior in every way, shape, and form. And they don't hide it at all. And it's appalling. And Governor Newsom, Governor Newsom, he even looks like a slimy elitist, and he is a slimy elitist. So I guess he looks the part and he is the part. And he didn't even take back anything about the fact that he was the optics were that he was celebrating this child labor in this marijuana field, and then he chose to talk about Republicans with child labor. Like, come on, really? Like, the articles he uses, like, he really tried to dig deep. Let's see, I don't know, I pull that up. That he's really trying so hard to deflect about the child labor, because he made an oopsie and he's not going to own it. He's just going to he's just going to double down in some way. So let's see. Let's look at this tweet or post or whatever you want to call it. We prosecute criminals that break child labor laws. You make the kids pose for photos, tear gassing, and promote laws like this. And then there's Arkansas governor signs bill rolling back child labor protections. From March 8th, 2023, DeSantis has a solution to Florida's labor shortage. Teenagers. Okay. Teenagers can work. It's completely legal for teenagers to work. Like, at a certain age, teenagers can work. So that's a poor example right there. Another dumbass Gavin Newsom move right there. Lawmakers roll back protections amid rising child labor safety violations in Indiana. Cut off the date on that one, I think. Let me see. Yeah, he cut off the date on that one. Iowa bill relaxing back child labor laws sparks outrage. This is just crazy. Yeah, that could be crazy. However, he's celebrating kids working in pot fields because the CPB Commissioner Rodney Scott posted that these are the juveniles found in the marijuana facility, almost all unaccompanied, one as young as 14. So these are all minors working in a marijuana farm, and almost all are unaccompanied. So these kids are here in this country to work these farms. So he, instead of saying anything like, yes, that, like anything to address that issue, that these kids are working a marijuana farm, he just doubles down and just says, we prosecute criminals that break child labor laws. Okay. Are you going to say anything about prosecuting anybody for those kids working that pot farm? Or are you just going to... No, you're just going to double down. You make the kids pose for photos, tear gas them, and promote laws like this. He's not even going to own it. At all. He is gleefully just basking in his ignorance. He's like the pigeon, like that you played chess with, that, you know, just shits all over the board and still struts around like it won. That's Gavin Newsom. Ugh. He's gross. He's absolutely gross. All right. No more. No more of that. I can't take any more Gavin Newsom. All right. So I do want to take a minute and for our sponsor, which is libertariangoth.com. It is the internet's largest alt culture geared liberty store. One of my new favorites, cyberbully the government. I have a hoodie, tank top, and a women's V-cut. I got some of my Liberty pinups as well. This is a cool one that I like. I'm not a leftist. I just look like one. And I'm much better looking. So we got that. And we also got the I Stand With Massey shirts. And then you got your F Your Speech laws with JD Vance, because we all like some free speech here. All right. So also a great one. It takes big balls to audit the government. So yeah, take a look. Take a look and browse around. You can also check out our best-selling MAGA hats, Make America Goth Again. These are selling wonderfully. Not only these, which are in dad hats, trucker hats, and beanies and snapbacks, but the Make America Metal Again, also a great seller. Also in trucker hats, snapbacks, and beanies. And then you got the Make America Punk Again, also another great seller. And Make America Emo Again. Same thing, but it comes in pink because I think emos like pink. So yeah, check out libertariangoth.com. It is, once again, the largest alt culture geared liberty apparel shop. And you can use code Liberty for all. That is Liberty, the number 4, all, for 10% off of your order. And that is it for. My stomach's making weird noises. So just to recap, our government's lying to us, to our face, and smiling, and blonde, and Bondi. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. We are going to go further into debt with more spending. And the governor of California continues to prove himself to be dumb. Dumber than a box of rocks. Oh, wait. My LG water bottle came in today. It's a really great water bottle. The best water bottle. The greatest water bottles. We have the best water bottles. They are the greatest, the most water, the freshest water that ever was. The greatest water bottles at libertariangolf.com. They're camelbacks. They have a killdozer on them. They're wonderful. The best, I would say the best there is. The water bottle is huge. I don't really know how many ounces it is. I don't know. Let's look at the ounces on that water bottle. While we still have this up. Let's look at that water bottle that Mr. Spanish Jesus is talking about. Because it is, let's see, drinkware. I got a lot of drinkware too. It's the largest shop. It's very full. Yeah, this one has the killdozer on it. Let's see. Yep. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things. With the killdozer. It is 25 ounces. 739 milliliters. And it is stain, shatter, and odor resistant with a spill-proof screw-on lid with bite valve. Oh. Trying to scroll down and I went too far. Yeah. Oh, it's one of those. I like those. Yeah, I don't have this water bottle, but I might order it for myself. It looks like a very nice water bottle with a single finger carry handle. Yeah. So that could be a nice killdozer thing there to remember the most based man that ever lived. All right. Well, I do want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know that there's been a lot that's gone on. And there's always so much to talk about. I do want to extend a word of condolences to all the victims from the Texas flood. Being a resident of Texas myself, I was lucky to not be affected by the flooding. It's not far from my location. I do wish I could help. If you know of any kind of legitimate charities that are taking donations of any sort, feel free to post them in the comments, because what has happened to that community is absolutely tragic, and the loss of lives of all the children that have passed, in the flood. It is beyond devastating. So many families have been affected, and I do wish them all peace. And I do hope that they finish finding everybody who has been lost. So yes, on a serious note, I do just want to give my full heartfelt condolences to everybody affected in the Kerrville, Texas flood. But if you have any legitimate charities about donating anything of any sort to the flood, whether it is, articles of clothing or food, or even just monetarily, post it in the comments. But I do want to thank everybody for coming out. I know it's 5 minutes late, so I've gone over 5 minutes now. But don't forget to subscribe, notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I'm going to be on here talking like all the political hot goss and stuff. And leave a comment. But yeah, even if you dislike it, dislike the video, apparently it still helps me in the algorithm. So yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, thank you everybody for coming out, hanging out. I enjoyed it. Y'all are amazing, and just remember to always lead with kindness unless they don't deserve it.